Hello, hello, hello. I think we're live. So welcome to episode 8 of Inner Strength, Inner Size Live. And tonight I've got the beautiful Kathy Weiber zooming in all the way from New South Wales to join us tonight. So thank you, Kathy, for spending the time with us this evening.
You're welcome.
And tonight, as the episode 8, we're going to be talking about, well, Kathy's going to be talking to us about your past does not predict your future unless you let it. And I'm intrigued to get into that a little bit more and find out what Kathy has to say about that. So I hope you've got your conscious cuppa, a juice or a water, whatever it happens to be, whatever your secret potion is, and you're going to sit back and relax and join us. Please also remember, drop any comments into the chat box. Any questions that you have for Kathy or I as we go along through the session are always welcome. Hashtag replay if you're watching the replay. And, let us know your questions and tag us, and we'll be sure to come back and answer them for you. So just before we get going, a little bit of an introduction about Kathy. So I've known Kathy now for, wow, was it 4 or 5 years? Probably, I think, Kathy. So certainly time is creeping on there. And Kathy is another heart-centered mindset parent and speaker coach. She's the expert in what she does, with a strong belief really in the ripple effect. And I just love that concept. That is that we can change the world, by changing ourselves. Her core values are love, service, growth, courage, and joy. And really, these all, from knowing what I do, Kathy, I can see how these flow through her commitment, dedication to support others to be the best versions of themselves. Kathy believes also that, the mind is one of the most powerful assets that we possess. And I know, again, that her passion to help others to live, their own life or their own version of an extraordinary life, I should say, and to see that great ripple effect of influence, all over the world. So thank you once again for joining us, Kathy. And I like to just start out by asking our speakers just this one question, really. It just fascinates me to know this. What do most people really misunderstand about what it is that you do?
Well, it's actually, I've had a good think about this because I know, you sent me the question, and I have two sides of what I do. One actually creates the ability to do the other. But when I thought about, okay, I've got to come up with two, what it really came down to was that people think it's that what I do, that is in speakers training or in parenting, because they're two sides that I really concentrate in mindset coaching, is that it comes naturally, that you naturally got it. That's what people think. If you're going to be a speaker, you're naturally good at speaking, and that's how you were born, and that's how it is. If you're great at parenting, it's because you were born that way. You were naturally inclined to be a phenomenal parent. And I know that deeply that is not true.
Yeah. I can resonate with that. Okay, so thank you for sharing that. So what brought you here tonight to share the topic that you chose to share with us? I'm really curious.
Well, this is a topic I've spoken about a few times, and I have to, if I can say thank you, first of all, for allowing me to indulging me in one of my favourite topics. And to everyone watching out there, thank you for listening in. And I trust that what I say to you, or what I say tonight, resonates with you in some way. And I really would like the viewers, if you're watching now or later, if something resonates with you, to take action. This is really important. Because all too often, and I know when I was on my personal development journey, when I started exploring different ways of doing things, what happened is that I would attend things and I wouldn't do anything about it. I'd go, yeah, that's so true. Yes, I've got to do that. And then I'd leave it. And 6 months later, I'd hear it again. And I'd still be in the same position and I hadn't done anything. So that's my first thing to say to everyone. If something resonates with you, I would really like you to take action, because it resonates with you for a reason, and that means it's the right time for you to now do something about it. So why did I get to this? Why did I have this topic, which is, say it for me again, Fiona.
It's your past does not
That's
predict
right.
your future unless you let it.
Yeah, I tend to go off on tangents, so please just put me back in. Yeah, so I have spoken about this topic for a while now. What it is that when I was very young, I was quite sick. I was really sick. And it stemmed from when I was 8. I decided not to speak anymore. And it was a good decision for my 8-year-old self to not talk, because it protected me. It was a great decision because of the environment that I was in at that time. And that led to me shutting down all my emotions, and I became really, really sick. And when I was in hospital, I had the opportunity to be with people that really supported me. And I don't remember the child psychologist who worked with me, but she must have done some incredible things, because I started to come out of my shell, and I started to be to speak and gain more confidence. But somewhere inside of me, I had this burning question: why do people do what they do? It started at that age. I can remember really early on thinking, why do people do what they do? And then fast forward a while, I remember watching Dr. Phil. Hands up who remembers watching Dr. Phil. I had little babies. Like I was home midday, breastfeeding kids, and I had little kids, and I was watching Dr. Phil. I loved Dr. Phil. And he kept saying this thing. He kept saying that past behaviour predicts future behaviour. And I went, oh my God, I am freaking screwed. Like, I just went, oh my God, I'm screwed. Like, how am I ever going to move past what happened to me as a child? Yeah. My conditioning, all the stuff that who I was as a young adult, as a child, and even at that age, I still hadn't really developed a sense of myself. And so I really did. I took that on, and I went, oh God, I'm screwed. What am I going to do? But then I started to think about it, and I went, hang on a minute. There are people out there who have overcome adversity and are doing really well. Why? Why is this? And I mean, there's the story of the two men. I can hear my cup of tea coming. Oh, wonderful. Because when you said a cup of tea, it's okay, you can come in. Just I text him. It's terrible. I think I've locked it. 1 second. I just love it. I love it when our conscious cuppa gets brought to us. Oh, thank you. As if by magic. Okay. I've got my cuppa. Beautiful. It's got honey and lemon in it as well, so I'm doing really well. I'm so lucky. Okay, and so I really, this question burned in my mind. Why do some people overcome adversity and others don't? And I'm not sure if everyone's heard this. There was an interview with twins, and one was highly successful, like the top of his game, and the other was in jail. And when they asked them the same question, they said, how did you get to where you are? They both said the same thing: because of my father. The father was a career criminal. One had said, I'm like this because I didn't want to be like my father. And the other said, I do this because I am like my father. They identified. Yeah, certain traits within him. Wow. Exactly. And it became a research project for me. I kept asking this question, and as we know, if we start asking high quality questions of ourselves, we get away from, why is my life like this? Why, why did I have problems in my childhood? Why did I do the things I did? To how do I overcome these things? How do I find an answer? Then you start noticing and taking in how to come to your answer. So this is why this topic is so passionate for me, because when I heard that your past predicts your future, I went, hang on a minute, I'm screwed. And I was determined to find a way that you don't.
Yeah.
And
you can make a change.
And make the change. Yeah. And the interesting, and I have to add that the funniest part of the journey that I've been on, and I don't know if other people can resonate with this, maybe you too as well, Fiona, is that when I went into coaching, because I had done some counselling training, and I used to train counsellors as well, and I went into coaching. And I went into coaching and neuro-linguistic programming and metadynamics and all the coaching skills that both Fiona and I learned at the school we studied at. I went into that because I didn't want to look at my past. I actually went, great, coaching, life coaching, moving forward, let's go. And it was like, this is the funniest thing.
Oh yeah, I hear you.
That wasn't the answer. That was not the answer. That I had to go back and look at my past, and I had to heal, and I had to feel whatever went on. I had to work through those things in order to move forward. And when I discovered that, it frightened the hell out of me.
And I think that's a big thing. Sometimes I know from myself, early on in my journey, it was externalizing things. I was looking outside me for a solution or a fix. I've often told this story. I would go into bookshops, read the back of the book and think, oh yeah, that's exactly my problem, that's going to fix me. And I come home, put them on the bookshelf. I call it my shelf development season, when I would just be collecting all of these books. But like you said, Kathy, looking at the past or looking within, it's going within and will never go without. And I truly believe and live by those words. It's sort of really an incredible journey. So thank you for sharing that. So I'm intrigued. What do you mean by unless you let it, in the title itself? Because I'm trying to understand now, about the past, not predicting the future, and where that's come from and your journey towards that. So what does the unless you let it mean?
Well, again, I learned this word, responsibility. But most importantly, I learned the real meaning of responsibility. And it's written, now I'm a teacher, I'm a teacher librarian, and I love words. And the word itself tells us it's your ability to respond. But I had to very quickly learn what I'm not responsible for. And I was never responsible for the stuff that happened to me when I was a child in any way. And on a rational level, we get that. Rational side, yeah, we've got that. We understand that. And then we behave in ways that are to do with our conditioning. We make decisions that are based in our conditioning. We behave in our roles when we were a child. And so I just want to step back and talk about that, is that we are conditioned by our family situation, and our families and our parents are conditioned by their family situation. And we have this historical pass on of how we're meant to behave, what emotions are valued and why emotions aren't. And we adopt roles within our family to function, because one of our core needs is to belong. And if we don't feel we belong, then we struggle with that. So we do anything in our power to belong, especially as a child, to please and belong. And so the trouble is that we will keep doing that until one of our amazing mentors, Joe Parnay, once said, until you go back and you have a look at it and make decisions about what works for you and what doesn't right now.
Yeah.
And I loved his term. He had this term, the part of becoming a professional adult is dealing with your conditioning.
Yeah.
It's not blame. It's that whatever isn't working for you now, with a gentle curiosity, that's I love using that gentle curiosity. It's this ability to look at it and go, wow, I got triggered by that.
Yeah. Yeah.
What's going on there?
That's right. Yeah.
To be able to ask that question and go, okay, there's something going on here. I need to have a look at that because I'm not happy with how I responded. It's not working for me. And so that for me is that you will keep behaving according to your conditioning until you create an awareness that you, number one, you're doing that.
Yep.
Number two, you go back and you look at that. You go back and you examine it and you make different decisions. And that is hard work. It is.
Yeah, absolutely. It is.
It's wonderful work. But
so
it's
rewarding. Very rewarding. But it's a long journey and it's not an easy journey. I think anyone who tells you it's an easy journey, quite frankly, it's not. And perhaps I always, for me, when I hear that, I always think, actually, have you actually done the deep work yourself? Because to say it's an easy journey, I don't believe is always true.
Well, I don't think the journey ends.
No.
And it doesn't, because there's always different layers within ourselves. I mean, you will come across situations and you go, hang on a minute, I'm not happy with how I responded, which is, okay, so there's two different things going on here. If you're someone that goes, I'm a crap person or I'm bad because of how I responded, that's called shame. And go speak to someone. Everyone is born incredible, and then we're taught otherwise. Everyone is born amazing, and we are gradually taught otherwise. And so if that is your internal language, now is the time to go and find someone to help you change that, because you were born perfect immediately the day you were born.
Yeah.
And so it's about reclaiming that and going back to that you once were absolutely perfect the way you were. Now, does that mean we don't make mistakes? Of course we do. We're human. That's what humans do. But if we make the same mistake, or we make the same choices again and again and again, well, that's called insanity, expecting a different result.
That's right. And I think you're right. And I think it comes to an aha moment, or call it, whatever you will, where you realize that actually I can't do this journey on my own. I do need some help, or find someone to talk to. And there's lots of, people out there that can help, with whatever it is that you're going through. And I think you're right. Shame is one of the things that we don't want to stay in that place. I mean, I'm an advocate for all emotion. I think hashtag 50 Shades of Grey. We should feel them all, love them all, be with them all for the time that we need. Yet shame and guilt are two that are very, very strong and can take us down a dark road, really, and dark path. And it's difficult sometimes to get out of that on your own. So if that is you and you're feeling that, then like Kathy said, that's the golden word. And if you're ready, take some action, find someone to talk to. Post a comment in here, connect with Kathy or I. I think it's very important, to be able to do that for yourself.
I absolutely. And one of the things to remember is that we often go back to the people that we think should have known better. And they actually reinforce that shame.
Yeah.
And they don't do it because they mean to. It's not their intention, but because they're not able to do anything else until they do the work as well.
That's right.
And so it's important to go and speak to someone. And look, there's lots of different ways to do it. Counselling works for people. There are many different ways to go about it. And it's finding what works for you. That's what's important. But it's important work that you do. it is the job of becoming a professional adult to see what doesn't work for me, understand it from where it came from, and then make different choices.
Yeah.
And that is a conversation to have with someone who is going to be really honest with you. And I remember the first time that someone said to me, well, you know, is that really working for you right now? Like, what are you getting out of continuing to make the same choices? And that's it, like, hang on a minute. But it's actually the thing that really made me sit up and go, hang on, I've got to try this on for a moment and really see what I'm doing here. For me, the biggest thing was speaking, which is hilarious. It's hilarious now, but I was afraid of being seen and having an opinion and having a voice. And because it was something that I couldn't do as a child. If I did that, it was unsafe for me. And so even though I started to deal with that and I started to understand it, so I don't know where it came from, but I used to stand in front of the mirror and say to myself, I'm confident, I'm confident, I'm confident. And that came at it came about because, yes, I got better. I came out of hospital and Mum was a single parent and she was doing the best she could with what she had available to her. We had a wonderful relationship. I always knew I was loved. And then she developed cancer when I was 13. And so for the next 3 years, I didn't have a teenage years. I was an adult and we looked after, my sister and I looked after everything. And then Mum passed away when I was 16 and I didn't have any other people. So at 16, I was by myself. And I remember sitting in a room and, please, if you are here or you've been here and you don't have this voice, go and get help now. But I had a voice inside of me that said, I have a choice here. There are 2 choices. And I chose the one where I was going to make, where I knew and now this is another belief that I developed that I've had to change. But the belief was, I'm by myself. And if I am going to change anything, I have to do it now. And that's when I decided that I had to I couldn't be shy anymore. I couldn't hide anymore. I had to start going out and being
speaking up and being all sorts of things.
Yeah. And once I started doing that was great. That worked. It was really, but it took 7 years before I looked in the mirror in the morning and went, I'm confident. And it took another 10 years for me to realize the reasons why I did what I did. And that's why I started what I did, because I knew my mindset affected the people who surrounded me. And my business is called Mindset to Inspire, because I know that when my mindset was in a certain way, I could, by my actions, inspire the people around me to be different as well. And that's the ripple effect, in particular children, because I wanted my children to grow up, I mean, there they are in the background.
Yeah, beautiful.
Grow up in an amazing household that supported them. And did I do the best job? Probably not. you can ask them. But I did everything within my power because I went looking for the answers.
Yeah. I just want to firstly acknowledge and thank you for your openness and your vulnerability, Kathy. I think I love it when we can have these sorts of conversations because it makes it real, and those listening can, we'll say it'll be a spark or a memory or a feeling that resonates for them as well. And like you said at the very beginning, that's the time to take action. If things are resonating with you here, then it's time for you to take action to make something different and make a change, for the good of yourself and perhaps your family as well. And I'm sure, I know you're an amazing mum. And the thing that I love as well is that, again, like similar to you, sometimes I work with families and often it's the mums that think, I've just, excuse the language, fucked all this up. You know, I've screwed my kid. Once they start to realize that, you know, a lot of the things we can change and we can do things differently and open up differently, there's a lot of guilt then that comes across, and I've just screwed up my kid's life, you know. But I think no matter how old your children are, it's never too late. It's never too late to have these beautiful conversations and to start the process. But it's again, it's the same like Kathy said before, everybody is on their own journey. You know, we're not responsible for anyone else. And really, I think that includes our children. At some point, they have to make their own choices. Sorry, you hear my dog barking. Bit of added audience.
I totally agree, Fiona. And this is the story that I tell parents, because I did that. When I started to discover, I went, oh my God, I've screwed up my kids. You know, it really worried me. And then I learned to ask the right questions. And this is the important thing. So what happened is that just before my daughter, Elizabeth, she's the redhead in the back, in the middle.
Yeah.
She's the second.
Yeah.
She was about to turn 21, and she's now 28. Oh my God, I can't believe it. Anyway, I was very young when I first had my children. That's all I can say.
Absolutely, of course. I can certainly still see that.
Anyway, she came to me and she said one day, Mum, I don't know, we don't know, neither of us, we've talked about this conversation a few times. And she said to me, Mum, when I was little, you never let me wear the Batman outfit. Now, imagine before I had learnt to ask high quality questions, I would have gone, what are you talking about? And I would have not considered or asked a great question. But I paused and went, that's really interesting. What did you make that mean? This is the key question, because children we are meaning making machines.
Yeah.
Now I'll continue the story and then talk about it at the end. And she said to me, Mum, it made me feel like I wasn't good enough to wear the Batman costume. Now, even when I say it now, I go, and now I actually missed out a bit, because her and her brother, so her brother, who's the other redhead in the picture, 2 years between them to the day, and she's the older one. And he grew quicker than what she did. She's quite little. She's only 4'9", and he's, you know, quite tall. And so they look like twins. And he wore the Batman outfit and she wore the Robin outfit. Right. He was Batman for about 3 years. That's all he would wear. Anyway, I said, so she said, I thought that I wasn't good enough to wear the Batman costume. And I explained to her, well, actually, Lachlan fitted into that costume and you fitted into the Robin, because she was second fiddle to a younger brother all the time. And it didn't even occur to me. It was just like, this one fits you, this one fits you, off you go play, you know? And she made it mean that she wasn't good enough to be Batman. Now, when I spoke to her, you know, it was a big laugh. For her 21st birthday, I got her a Batman costume. She had a new boyfriend. He came to her. But it was just this healing within her to go, even though she knew on a rational level, Mum, I know you didn't, but she made it mean something.
Yeah.
And that's the thing, as a parent, we don't know what our children are making things mean unless we are able to ask really good questions. And that's the question to ask. If you write down one thing, if you're a parent tonight, ask your child, when they tell you about a memory, something that happened to them, what did you make that mean? And you will, as young adults, and you will discover the beliefs that they developed, and they're the ones that you can then heal and they can leave behind.
It's lovely. That's a beautiful thing, because I think, and it is a great question. It's a great question even for myself, you know, I ask myself, what did I make that mean in that moment?
Yeah.
When that thing happened to me, that's become a trigger now, for example, as well. You know, what did I make it mean? Because I think that's, well, not think, we know that's how, you know, it's what drives us going forward, isn't it? All of these things that we start to value that not necessarily our values or our beliefs, things
Yeah,
that happen to us, the way we felt about it.
definitely.
Yeah,
Definitely.
so why is it so important for you, Kathy, to leave your past behind?
Well, as I talked, I spent a lot of time telling myself I didn't need to, that I just needed to move forward, and realised that wasn't the case. But the real reason why we must leave our past behind, while still remembering, so I'm not saying that you have to dump everything from your past, throw out everything. There are things about me that I love from my past. I'm actually a really empathetic person. I enjoy helping others. And they're qualities that I developed because of my conditioning. The thing is if I'm only doing those things and not being able to do other things. And so this is why it's so important that we must leave our past behind, that we must do the work, is because if we don't, we're going to continue to do the same things again and again and wonder why we're not making any progress. Or we're going to get that feeling of being stuck and having limited choice. And so the reason that we need to leave our past behind is because it is about choice.
Yeah.
It's about choice for ourselves. It's about choice for our children. It's about choice for our partners and the people that are around us. Because when we work on ourselves, everyone else around us benefits.
That's right. I'm a big believer of that. I think that, you know, if we're not looking after ourselves, we become, you know, really depleted and empty and a shell, you know, and yes, we do give and we serve and well, I'm saying I'm talking about myself. So for example, in those moments where I know I've neglected myself and I am depleted and I've got low energy, I will still muster the energy up for whatever anyone else needs around me, because that's just, you know, part of who I am, my past. Yet I know that when I take the time to nurture myself as well, you know, and to sort of fill my own cup up, then my giving comes from a fuller, more loving place of, you know, gratitude and fulfillment as well. So I think it's very important what you're saying about leaving the past in some ways. Yet I would ask a question. Do you believe that your past is always and will always be part of you?
Oh, always. Absolutely always. Leaving your past behind is not saying I'm going to reject that. In actual fact, it's the opposite. It's actually accepting, in a way. It's forgiveness, but not forgiveness for other people. It's accepting, it's seeing how that particular, so one of the things that I healed with my 8-year-old self is I actually went back, I realised now, it took me a long time to understand what a wonderful decision for an 8-year-old to make. Like seriously, good on you, you're my 8-year-old self, because you did what you needed to do to protect yourself.
Yeah.
Good on you. But I don't need to do that anymore. Thank you so much. You did an awesome job of protecting me, but I don't need to do that anymore.
That's right.
I've got this. And that in itself, that acceptance of your past, what happened, to move through it, to detach the emotional triggers, and I want to expand on that, is so important. We have to embrace our past in order to move forward.
And I think that's the key. It's embracing, because
yes.
I speak for myself and on several clients actually that I've come across this with, that some people will say, oh, I've healed my past, I'm you know, I'm all good and blah blah, and actually what they've done is they've resigned themselves to that's the way that it was.
Yes.
And there's a difference between resignation and acceptance.
I agree. Yes, totally.
And I think that's the key, you know, and it's a very, very fine line between resignation and acceptance. And I think that fine line is really defined for me by unconditional love of self. You know, because I think once we dig into that, then it really becomes that acceptance allows us to let go, but to bring the lessons and the strengths that we learned, and you know, things that, like you said, that you saw that decision for your 8-year-old self was the perfect decision for her in that moment. So accepting that and knowing it lets you bring that past with you, you know, rolled up and bundled up, so you can move forward without the hindrance of dragging the past behind you. Does that make sense?
Yes, the thing we're leaving behind is the unconscious decisions and conditioning that we're bringing to the present.
Love it. Yeah,
that's what we're leaving behind. And that's the distinction. There are many things in my past that I want to take with me always.
Yeah.
And even the fact that, so now the strength that I find in knowing the things that have happened to me have made me who I am.
Yeah.
And I love that. It doesn't stop me from questioning things when I get triggered, though.
No.
I still do. And going, okay, even now in lockdown, at the beginning of lockdown, so I had to isolate. I have a chronic lung condition. I had to isolate for 6 months when it first started. And I couldn't go anywhere. And it actually really triggered me, because that was what it was like for me as a child.
Yeah.
And I felt really trapped and disempowered until I actually went and spoke to someone and said, this is how I'm feeling. Like, it's bringing up, I was getting memories of being a child. And then I had things such as when they started to talk about people in hospitals. And when I was 10, I was in intensive care. Both my lungs collapsed. And I remember the sound of the machines and machines being turned off, knowing what was happening. And it all just came back to me. And I went, I thought I'd dealt with this. But if I didn't have the awareness to understand that there's something here that I hadn't dealt with, to go and talk to someone, to go outside of myself, because whatever we've created within our own mind and our own situation is not the solution. It cannot be solved within our own mind, because if we had the answer, we would have found it already. The only way we find that answer is outside of ourselves, hearing it from someone else, which is why sometimes talking to a trusted friend who has got your back, not someone who's just going to tell you what you want to hear, will help you.
Yeah, I love that. It's so true. And I think it's having that circle of friends, people that you can trust and can just listen, just actively listen to you, and really connected listening. You know, not just that superficial listening, that strolling on the phone at the same time, not really there, but you want that sort of like real connection where someone is actually really listening to what you say, you know, it will help you move through things. And I think awareness is huge, because there are so many layers, like you've beautifully, you know, explained for us, of healing. You know, the same trauma or a different trigger may set off the same trauma or feelings, you know, within. And I think when we are moving through that, for me, I sort of, you know, liken it to, it's the same shit, different day, different stickiness. I don't get stuck there for long. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I think that awareness is really key, you know, and I love my awareness. I love the challenges that come, because I know that I'm growing. There's deeper, you know, there's more things to be grateful for.
It's a double-edged sword. Because awareness without doing anything with that awareness, pain.
Yeah.
It's kind of like when you want to change your eating habits, but you keep going back and eating crappy food, and you go, but I didn't want to do that. Why am I still, I'm aware that I'm doing this.
Yeah.
And I know that I'm emotionally eating, or I'm emotionally triggered, and that's why I'm reaching for food that I don't need to be eating.
Yeah.
But the awareness is there, but I can't change it now. So awareness is the first thing. So if you're becoming aware, that's the first step. The next step is making sure that you seek the answers to that awareness.
That's it. That's absolutely. And I think you're right. I hadn't thought about that awareness as a double-edged sword. I'm going to think on that some more, because it's so true. It's so true. It's a beautiful way of explaining it. So thank you for that. It's given me an extra.
It's one of those things. Ignorance is bliss.
Yeah, that's true.
What you don't know can't be. But once you know, it's like, I know now.
Yeah.
If I don't do something with this knowledge, it just creates more pain.
That's right. That's right. So what does leaving your past look like?
Okay, so what it can look like conversations in which you cry. It can look like a lot of conversations like that. It can look like what I call gentle curiosity. And so the idea behind this is that we need to take ourselves to a what I call a third position. And so we can see ourselves through our own eyes. We can see ourselves in the other person, but we really need to take ourselves above that to a position where we're observing everything from a greater sphere, our expanded awareness.
I call it the drone position.
Yeah. So from that position, we're able to become the observer of what's happening to us, or how we're responding to the world currently. And it's from that position that we get this gentle curiosity, go, gee, that's interesting. Gee, I snapped at that person. Or I overthought in that situation, whatever it is. Or my kids came home today and I really just couldn't tolerate whatever's going on with them. It's that ability to be a little bit above ourselves, take ourselves out of the situation and look at it from above and observe ourselves in that situation. And that's a really tricky thing to do. It takes practice. And it takes someone helping you know how to do that. And so that's what it looks like, is this gentle curiosity. It's about asking high quality questions of yourself. It also looks like sometimes some relationships changing, some relationships dropping away because they're not happy with how you're becoming, because you're not fitting their mold of what they think you should be doing. And that's okay. That can be tricky too. It doesn't mean you're a bad person, because that was the immediate attachment that I had to it, is that I must be a bad person if I can't have a loving relationship with everyone. And it's actually not true. We're not responsible for how other people respond to us when we're doing the work that needs to be done.
And that's true. I lost a lot of my own friends through this journey, or what I thought were friends, but I realized that, friendship it's a two-way street. Hey, it's not a one-way path, because it was always one way. So, and it is saddening at the time. You don't realize, and like you say, I think I had a lot of those feelings myself. Around is it me? I'm a bad person. No one wants to be around me. All those things, and then I realized that actually no, this is what I want. How I want my life to be, and the quality of friendships that I have now is phenomenal. So I'm very, very grateful I've gone through that journey.
And that's the thing, is that we've been fortunate enough to be surrounded by lots of people that were able to help us do that. But if your first thought is, it's me, like I must be a terrible friend, or I'm a terrible person because this person, no, it's actually reverting back to the default again. And that awareness needs to come in again from above to go, isn't that interesting that I'm thinking like that?
Yeah. There's other things for you to uncover in those conversations with yourself, or journaling, however it is that you take to look through those things. Yeah.
And we have to be quiet enough to be able to hear what our thoughts are really our thoughts are, not the surface busy thoughts that we keep there to distract us from what's really going on within, but to really sit with it and know and feel it and go, okay, this feeling's here, I'm still safe, I'm still okay. Now I can work out why this comes up for me.
Yeah. Thank you for sharing that. Are there some practical tips that perhaps, you know, to be able to leave your past behind for those that are listening to this vocabulary or discussion for the first time, perhaps?
Yes, absolutely. Number one, if what's resonating, and I've said this right at the beginning, and it's really important, if what we're talking about is resonating with you, then then it's time to take action. There are lots of ways to get help. You can go to your GP. You can go, there are free services. You can find a coach. You can start to read books and start taking action from the books. So I know there are a lot of books out there, but if you're on the first part, the first step of your personal development journey, and I don't know what book you would recommend, but I know the book I would recommend, which is Awaken the Giant Within. I'd start there. It's a big book, but I would start there.
Because I think that's a really good choice, actually, because I think it covers a lot of things in a methodical sequence, doesn't it? So I think it's lots of exercises and things to get your thought processes going.
Yeah. But the biggest thing is that now you have awareness, is to do something with that awareness. And there's a reason why certain things become within our consciousness, and it's because we're ready to start taking action on them. I know every time I sat back and went, no, I'll just shrink myself away from it because I'm not good enough, or it won't work for me. Every time I did that, 6 months down the track, I realised that was the point in which I needed to say yes.
Yeah.
And every time I did overcome that, I don't know if it'll work for me. I don't know if this is, if I'm good enough for this, or I'm ready for the journey. Every time that came up, they were the trigger thoughts for me to do something.
Yeah.
Rather than them being the trigger thoughts for me to sit back and keep within myself. They were the thoughts that, okay, if I get those thoughts, that means I now need to do something about it.
Yeah, beautiful. And I think that's a good indication for, I know I'm generalizing, you know, it won't work with everybody, but I think that strategy would work for a lot of people, you know, having the awareness, the recognition of some of those thought patterns, that perhaps if these things are coming up more frequently, then you are actually ready to make a choice to do something differently.
Yes, yeah, absolutely.
Mm.
And it takes that ability to go, okay, I'm ready now for me to learn what's going on for me. Because it's important not just for me, but for the other people around me.
Yeah.
And so that's definitely the tip. The other one is using that gentle curiosity. Definitely is a way to start creating that awareness, because that's the first step.
Yeah. And even that question, like you were saying before,
yes.
You know, what did I make that mean?
Yeah.
I think that's a beautiful question to have, perhaps as the first one that, you know, you ask yourself in those moments. Yeah, love it.
Yeah, definitely.
That's great. Well, Kathy, I just want to thank you so much for joining us tonight. And I'm sure if anyone's watching the replay, which they will do, normally people will watch later and ask some questions. And please, you know, ask any questions. I know I'll invite Kathy to share how you can contact her as well. She might have some freebies or things to give away to us. I'll leave it to you. Anything you like, you may feel free to pop into the thread underneath this live. That'll be perfect. Is there anything else that you'd like to close with, Kathy?
You know what? I don't know if you do. I would love to close with this. This is what I normally close with when I talk about this topic. And it's a really powerful exercise to do if we've got time.
Yes, yeah, feel free.
Everyone can indulge me with this because it's, I think this is one of the first steps that you can take. And so it's a bit of, it's kind of like a guided thoughts, guided meditation.
Yeah.
What I ask that you do is remember that you are always completely safe wherever you are, and that it's taking that position of observing yourself while you do this. Okay. That's what's really important. So what I want you to do, and I normally close my eyes when I do this, so know that if you're closing your eyes, and that's what I'm doing. Yeah. I'm going to be closing my eyes as well. So because each time I do this, I find another level of healing comes from it as well. So what I want you to do is just to sit with your feet on the ground and feel the ground beneath you, and take a breath through your feet, up through your body, and as you let it out through the top of your head. And again, feel your feet on the ground. Feel the seat of your chair. And take a breath. Breathe up through your body and then out through your head. And then one more time. Taking a breath. Up through your feet, up through your body, and out through your head. And now I'd like you to imagine the home that you grew up in. I'd like you to stand in the front gate or front garden and just notice it. You are an adult. You're standing there tall, your feet on the ground. You can feel the ground beneath you and you're looking at it. And you know that somewhere in that house, in one of the rooms, there is your 5-year-old self, sitting and playing. And I want you to walk into the house, to open the door, walk through the rooms and find your 5-year-old self, sitting happily and playing. And they see you come in and you look up at them, and they look up at you and you smile. And you sit down beside them. And as you look at your 5-year-old self with complete and utter love for this wonderful little being, I want you to reach your hands out to them and have them sit on your lap. And they look up to you with adoring eyes. I want you to tell them right now everything that you want them to know. I want you to tell them they're enough, that they're loved, that they belong, and that they have everything in front of them, everything they could possibly ever want to do is available to them. And your 5-year-old self looks up at you and smiles with loving eyes. And then I want you to stand up and take the little 5-year-old's hand. Take them by the hand. I want you to guide them out of the house, holding their hand, walking out the door, out to the garden. And I want you to wave goodbye to the house. And your 5-year-old self waves goodbye. And you walk away with them knowing everything you need is with you. You're enough. You belong. You're loved. You always were, always are, always will be. And when you're ready, take a breath, bringing all that with you, all the love, the acceptance, all the joy of a child. And open your eyes.
Wow, I enjoyed that.
Yeah, it's and look, if people want to go back and listen and do that exercise again and again, it's
definitely
very powerful to be able to do that.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Kathy.
You're so welcome.
Awesome session. Thank you so much for being with us for episode 8. I've thoroughly enjoyed it, and I look forward to seeing the links that you'll post for us into the group. And I know I've got the privilege of speaking to you again in a couple of weeks' time in our Mumpreneurs group, which is great. I believe you're going to be sharing with us a secret structure.
Yes, because I help people with the structure of how they speak.
That's right. So I'm looking forward to that as well. So until next week, I'll see you here back for episode 9, or the details of which will be revealed shortly. And then until then, remember, be your own best friend to do whatever it takes. And if that means listening to those whispers and taking action, so you too can help yourself and leave that past behind, leave all those unconscious decisions that you didn't even know you were making, back there, and start to listen to yourself and have those conversations by asking, like Kathy shared with us, what did you make it mean? What was it for you? So that's all from us this week, and we'll see you next time. Bye for now. Bye.